So I already talked about the Asmodan, all of his talents and stuff for his rework. Now let's talk about Raynor. Probably the most really expected, anticipated, and wanted rework of all time, I would imagine. Raynor's one of those where he's been such a simple to play hero for so long, so he was an approachable hero for new players, but it got to the point that his mechanics were really outdated compared to a lot of other heroes, and people started liking more mechanically challenging heroes. So Blizzard had a tough time reworking Raynor in a sense that made him more engaging to play with, but still easy to pick up for new players. That was essentially their goal. Let's see if they did it. Let's skip past all of this stuff and go straight into his stats. Now, what's the interesting part that a lot of the pro players are complaining about is this line right here. If you can't read this, this says scaling from 4 to 5%. Most heroes in the game will scale at 4%, making them all about even in the rate that they are getting better at the game. For Raynor to be scaling faster than everyone else makes it to where at level 20, he's effectively 20% stronger than everyone else at level 20, and the longer the game goes, he's even more powerful. With his health being increased, his regen being increased, his damage decreased, but his scaling increased this much is pretty interesting. His base range is set to 6.5. It no longer affects with his trait. And now we have a new trait that is called Acquire Weak Point. Every fourth basic attack is empowered and deals an additional 125% damage to your target and splashes for 50% in a small area around your target, a 2.25 radius. That's a pretty decent radius. I would say that's around the size of a Brightwing Q. So not too bad, honestly. The interesting thing about this is it says every basic attack, but it doesn't say basic attacks against heroes. Unlike Manticore, where you have to hit one person 3 times to activate it, this you can hit a minion 3 times, then just turn to an enemy hero and crit them for essentially 225% of the damage because it's an additional 125%, meaning that you can essentially only poke the enemies when you want to and crit them and do splash damage at the same time. Pretty cool. Penetrating Round. They decrease the damage, they decrease the mana cost, and they added a functionality that makes it slow. This makes it a little bit better because he can now push away people that are chasing him and slows them. The knockback range is dependent on the proximity. This means that the closer they are to Raynor, the more it knocks them back. This also is nice because if you hit someone at the edge of your queue to get the slow off, it means that they don't get knocked back too far, allowing you to kind of chase them with that slow going. But if they're really on you, like a diver, like a Genji or Tracer, you can knock them all the way back and slow them. I think this was an amazing change for him. Inspire, the cooldown was lowered, and now it has a new functionality. It resets your basic attack. You and your nearby minions and mercenaries gain 30% extra attack speed and 10% movement speed. What does reset your basic attack mean? It means that if you fire an attack, you have to wait another second to fire another attack. However, if you fire an attack, press W, you can instantly fire another attack, meaning that it adds a little bit of a higher skill cap to people who want to get extra burst damage off. Say, for example, you have an enemy who's really good at avoiding you when you're about to get your 4th attack off. What you can do is you can fire your 2nd attack, and then you can fire your 3rd attack on the enemy, press your W, and fire your 4th attack on the enemy, effectively doing 3 times a regular auto attack instantly to an enemy. Pretty strong, allows you to do a lot more burst damage very quickly. Adrenaline Rush. The cooldown has gone from 30 to 45 seconds. Its mana cost from 0 to 75, so they actually gave it a mana cost. New functionality heals you for 25% of your max health over 1 second. Basic attacks lower this cooldown by 0.5 seconds. Double versus hero, so you can, as long as you're always attacking something, you can heal more often with Raynor. This effectively gives Raynor a pretty satisfying heal that you can activate whenever you want to. And personally, I think this is going to make Raynor a bully in the solo lane, as well as still a decent hero in the 4-man, because it is giving him the potential to be in the 4-man because of his slows, as well as his new functionality of doing a lot more burst damage. But it also gives him the solo factor because he could constantly be lowering the cooldown of his heal, making it more likely for him to stay up in a solo lane longer without people being able to do anything. Raynor's Raiders. This is actually my favorite change to Raynor right now. The health of his Raynor's Raiders has increased by 766 to 1,000. The damage has been decreased. The attacks per second has slowed down considerably. Actually, sorry, attacks per second has increased considerably. It's gone from zero point 0.8 to 2 per second. New functionality, Raynor gains a Banshee that flies by his side and auto-acquires basic attack targets. A Banshee can be killed, which will start a 45-second cooldown for another one to be called. They gain 75 health per second while out of combat. So what does this mean? It means that you have a Raider that follows you around forever. And people can kill it to where you don't have it anymore. Imagine like a Misha that you can put on cooldown. I think this is a really, really cool change. It's a lot different from some of the other ones that we've seen. Sorry, I just had a notification. Wanted to check to see if it was something recent. It's not. I think this is an amazing change. It's just really neat to have your own little pet that you can summon and have out at all times. And then they have to kill it. And then it goes on a cooldown and you can get it back by the next fight. You can also target things, so you can, it auto-acquires its basic attack target, but you can change the target around. That was something that was showed in the video. Let's talk about his talents a little bit. Level 1, Seasoned Marksman was removed. Scouting Drone was removed. Sad day for me. Veteran Marksman, quest, if an enemy hero is hit with an empowered acquire weak point attack, increase the basic damage of acquire by 0.75. This means every time that your force shot goes off on a hero, which we remember, we can hit an enemy minion 3 times and a hero, or hit a minion 2 times and then a hero and do a W to reset it, to trigger it. That means you can permanently increase the percent damage of it by 0.75. It's pretty cool. I don't like that it's only 0.75 because ultimately an enemy hero is not just going to let you wail on them. They're not just going to let you keep poking. So I'd say you're going to get only about 35 to maybe 50 stacks if you're really good with it, or if your enemy's just being an idiot, up to 75. Doesn't seem that good because it's only increasing the damage of one attack every 4th attack. So not that great. Ace in the hole. You deal 35% more damage to an enemy hero that is slowed or stunned. This is strong. I mean, he used to get this at level 16, and it's a stronger percentage, but it doesn't have the extra 3-second duration to it. So for someone who, if you partner up with someone like an Arthas who can keep a slow on him for a really long period of time, you effectively just get a permanent increase of 35% more damage, melting all frontliners, which is way better than it was before. However, if it's essentially just following up on someone who used like a Q and you're just auto-attacking a couple times, you don't get the bonus that you used to have, which was that 3 extra seconds. So, pros and cons to it. I think that in the right team comp, it's way better than it was before, and I think in the wrong team comp, it's worse than it was before. But to be this early is really nice. Exterminator. Increase your basic attack damage to minions, mercs, and monsters by 50%. Increase this bonus to 100% if Inspire is active. In the solo lane, I think that this is going to be something that's really powerful. Why do I say that? Well, because in the solo lane, a lot of times people, if they can bully out the enemy laner, they can get a little bit of time to do camps. Well, being able to do 100% extra damage while getting that extra movement speed of your W makes it to where you can really clear camps very, very quickly. So effectively, I do think this is going to really solidify the fact that Raynor can be a solo laner now. Level 4, all of his talents were removed. We won't even talk about what they were. And let's get into the new talents. Fight or Flight was moved from level 7. New functionality lowers the cooldown of Adrenaline Rush by 10 seconds. Activating it grants 25 armor. So you can press your W more often. It's already a pretty low cooldown, so that's pretty nice. And it gives you armor. What does this tell me? Likely going to be a solo lane thing. It allows you to trade better because the enemy's not going to want to fight you for 4 seconds. And you can use it more often, also allowing you to do camps faster because you can activate that more often. Behemoth Armor. It's a trait. Quest grants 250 health. Increases by 5 every time that you hit a hero with Acquire Weak Spot. Actually, this could also be a solo lane thing. You could really stack this up quickly against a single person. Imagine you're against a Misha or another melee person who's just sitting there taking damage. Sustained rounds. Acquire a weak spot. Attacks heal for 3% of your max health. This could increase against 6% against heroes. Also another solo lane thing. Pretty nice. All 3 of these could be really strong in the solo lane. Really. They all could definitely be strong. What do I think is actually going to be the pick for a 4-man, though, or for a solo lane? I think it really depends. A lot of times these sustained talents aren't picked up as often as they could be, purely because a lot of times people will, in the 4-man, will be with other healers. And he has his own heal mechanic to begin with, so I don't think that this is going to be that used. Getting 250 health and permanent health on a range damage dealer is really, really nice. So I think ultimately this will be the pickup in a lot of scenarios because he'll just be really hard to kill late game. All of his level 7 talents removed, so we won't talk about those. However, he got Heavy Slugs. It's an activatable. You activate your next penetrating round as 30% increased range, and the slow duration of it is increased by 200%, which makes it to where the slow was a 2-second. Now it is a 6-second slow, and it has a longer range. That is pretty good for escaping and decent to chase people down. Combine that 6 seconds if you were to get the talent on level 1 that makes you do 35% more damage. This may be a decent combo to burst people down. But let's see what other talents he gets at 7. Fuel the Rush, W and E. While Inspire is activated, increase the cooldown of your E from basic attacks by 200%. I think this is going to be a solo laner thing mainly, just because you'll be able to get your E off more often and cooldown will keep getting lowered even faster. That means you're shaving off 3 seconds per auto attack as long as your W is going off, which if you get the cooldown reduction on your W, you're going to have your W going off a lot. Effectively, I think this will be a solo laner thing, but not really anything else other than that. Unstable Compound is a new trait. Increase the area effect of acquire weak point by 15%. Enemies hit by it are slowed by 10% for 3 seconds. I really like this for the 4-man because it's effectively slowing people in an AoE, and it's also giving you the slow to trigger your 35% increased damage. Even though it's a small slow, it's enough to where if you're stutter stepping, you can keep up with people, and it's enough slow to increase your damage by 35%. This will definitely be picked up in the 4-man and likely won't be picked up in the solo, as this is really strong for the solo. All 3 of these were removed at level 13, including Giant Killer, which was his percent health damage. We will see what he gets at level 13. Debilitating rounds, his Q and his W have some synergy, decreasing the cooldown of penetrating rounds by 3 seconds. While Inspire is active, the slow amount is increased by 100%. So it used to be a 20% slow. If you combine that with the other thing, it'll be a 40% slow, and you'll have a lower cooldown on rounds. It's not bad, honestly, and especially if you combine that with the fact that you can get an increase to a 6-second, it could be a pretty good slow for someone like an auto attacker or a solo laner to be able to get at a range. Not too bad, but again, if you're using this much utility on someone like Raynor, you're probably missing out on a lot of damage or survivability. Rallying Cry, W, increase the duration of Inspire by 1 second. All nearby heroes gain 10% movement speed and attack speed for the duration. I think this will be used in the solo lane build as it buffs his team when he joins team fights, and that extra Inspire allows him to do camps faster, as well as allows him to get his trait back faster, or his E back faster anyways. Giddy Up, W, gain 10% movement speed and mount speed permanently. That's pretty nice. And increases Inspire's movement speed bonus by 20%. I think this will be used in his 4-man personally because, well, I don't know, actually. This could be used more in the 4-man to get the buff, and this could be used more in the solo. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, honestly. I think that it would be used in the 4-man purely because 10% extra movement speed allows you to really reposition in team fights and keep up while avoiding the enemy, like, things that are going on. But this could also be really nice for a solo laner to be able to join a team fight. We'll see. I don't know. Level 16, his executioner was removed, cluster rounds, bullseye was removed. All right, give me more. E. New functionality, increase the heal amount for adrenaline rush by 50%, gain 1 additional attack range while Inspire is active. Again, I'd put this with the WE build that's been earlier, the one that I've been calling the solo lane build, because you're going to have a low cooldown on W, which is going to lower the cooldown of your E, and now you're going to have longer range with your E while you're doing it, and you'll just be a bully, a huge health bruiser, honestly. Bounty Hunter, active. Acquire weak spots attacks that hit a hero, deal initial 3% of the max hero's health, and grant you 10 armor for 3 seconds. Activate. Your next basic attack is empowered with Acquire weak spot. This is actually interesting. This gives him his percent health damage, but it's a lot lower than before. You used to be able to do 1.5% per auto attack. Now you're doing 3% only every 4th auto attack, effectively being about half of the amount of percent health that he used to be able to do. but you can activate it to get one free one off. So you can essentially auto attack really quickly, get 3% off, and then pop this, get another 3% off. So it could be effectively more bursty than it was before, but it's less consistent than it was before. Paint them red, increase the damage of penetrating rounds by 50%, heal for 100% of the damage dealt to heroes. There is a kind of a weird penetrating round build that's going on. I don't think that it's really going to be that effective at all, but I've been proved wrong before. Level 20, a lot of his abilities have been removed. Let's see what is left. So, Indomitable Resolve is R1. Acquire weak spots, attacks against hero. Lower the cooldown of a Hyperion by 5 seconds. After this talent right here that can trigger it, right there, we could see that there could be a lot of talents to quickly burst this down. I think that would be really interesting to see. Casting Inspire grants 2 seconds of Unstoppable. I think this is really the important part of this upgrade. Duskwing, which is your Banshee. Now it increases your Banshee's health, damage, and leash range by 100%. When killed, Inspire and Adrenaline are activated for free. That's pretty good. And I think also, remembering that I've been kind of looking at him as a solo lane hero, having an extra buddy there to do a lot of damage is going to be really strong in the solo lane. I really think Raynor is going to be a huge bully in the solo lane now. I think he's going to be able to... We might actually see a huge shift in the meta, seeing as he's probably going to be able to out-bully a Sonya and out-bully a Malthael, possibly even a Thrall. So we might see a meta of ranged solo laners for a while. But either one of these could be good in the 5-man. I think that ultimately the Indom Resolve might be used a little bit more, just being able to get more... Hyperions out, as well as getting that Unstoppable would be really nice. Weak spot, the primary target of your acquire weak spot loses 25 armor for 2 seconds. It's not bad. Again, if you synergize that well with a lot of the bonus damage that you're doing, that 35% extra damage and the 25 reduced armor, you could really melt people. And execute passive, increase your attack speed by 20%. Your basic attack damage is increased at 25 more against targets below 50% health. Okay, so one of these is going to be picked in the 4-man. I haven't really decided which one yet. The reduced armor helps everyone, and it gives you 25% more damage, right? But this also gives you 25% more damage just against people that are 50% below, and 20% more attack speed. So effectively, this one's going to give you more DPS, but this one's going to give you more of a potential with your team. And I don't know. I think that this will be more of the pick, but I do think that this will sometimes be picked if your team really knows what's going on. But if you're the main damage in your team, definitely that one for sure. Just synergizes really well with a lot of your other talents. I think this will always be picked in the... Well, I don't know. I don't know if this will actually ever be picked, but I think that that little summon talent will be used in the solo lane for sure. Overall, I think I really like the changes. I can definitely see him being a bully in the solo lane, a complete bully in the solo lane, and I definitely think that I can see him in the 4-man now as just someone who does a lot of damage, especially if you can synergize him well with someone like an Arthas who can just permanently slow them, so he gets that permanent 35% bonus damage. Possibly synergizing well with that 25% extra damage and the 20% more attack speed. And the movement speed allows him to just be a complete bully, just melting people down, doing huge AoE damage to their team. It could be incredibly high. And he can trigger, later on, he can trigger his own slows. So overall, yeah, I think he's going to be a really strong DPS hero, and I think he's going to be a huge bully in the solo lane. Don't forget to check out the Azmodan video that I should be releasing today as well, talking about the Azmodan rework, all the talents and abilities explained. And if you like these style of videos, or you like any of my other videos, feel free to toss a subscribe, check out some of my other ones, and yeah, thanks all for watching.